the hotspots are well known. Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, and now people adding to it China. And that is one of the issues the book is trying to tackle. Where is our next front? Is it going to be Asia, Far Asia, as the pivot suggests, or do we have still some very, very urgent problems in the Middle East? And the book points out that this is an environment of scarce resources. So it's not like we can do both on an equal footing. That's why we talk about shifting resources from one place to the other. And the book tries to go chapter by chapter, visiting Pakistan, visiting Iran, visiting Afghanistan, and the new assertive behavior of China, and tries to weigh where our priorities are and which of them needs to be given precedent. And above all, when? Is China hot now, or is it heating up? We are not simply trying to protect ourselves and our allies and contribute to world peace, but we also are out to promote democracy and freedom and human rights. But the question is how far we go, under what conditions we intervene by the use of force. That became a major issue in Libya. The book goes to a very detailed analysis of what happened here. We started by trying to prevent a genocide. But then in the middle of the process, when Gaddafi offered a ceasefire and negotiate a settlement with the rebels, we said, well, no, we want regime change. We want you to leave and install a democracy. When we moved from protecting lives to promoting regime change. And the question the book struggled with, how far should we go? How should we draw the line? In Syria and many other places. And it has, for me at least, writing it, was a particularly telling example. I said to the reader, let's assume the Taliban came to the United States in Afghanistan and said, look, we want you to leave. We want to run our own country. If you leave, we promise you, we will never allow terrorists again to use our country as a base for attacking you, and we'll declare to the world from day one, if you ever do that, you can bomb us into the Stone Age and beyond. But if you leave, we will run the country by our values. We're going to introduce the Sharia, close all the schools for girls, not allow women to be outside the household without a relative, and otherwise impose our view of how our country should be run. Should the United States accept the deal or not? That's where we cross the line from protecting our lives from terrorists to promoting democracy and human rights at the point of a missile or bayonet or drone in another country. How far are we willing to go? And I hear both answers. I hear people that we owe to the Afghan people not to leave unless at least basic human rights are protected. And the other people who say that our business is to protect lives, ours and others, but not to promote by use of force forms of government in other countries. Everybody agrees we should use educational means, cultural means, what are called in the book non-lethal means. But the question is, how far should we go in Afghanistan and elsewhere in promoting human rights? I think I'll find the part of the book which will be maybe most discussed is my thesis that there's a very odd and it's almost surprising connection between the various hotspots. Because if you look at them first, Pakistan had its own instability, nuclear weapons which terrorists may grab. Afghanistan is very difficult to stabilize. China is a whole other part of the world and is spreading into its territory because it needs resources and access to fuel. So what's the connection? And the book tries to take a new geopolitical position. And it argues that they are connected in ways which are, I don't think, immediately apparent. And that's like this. One of the reasons we are not gaining the support of Pakistan. In fact, Pakistan is moving ever closer to China. It buys now arms from China. It gets a lot of weapons from China. 70% of the Pakistani tanks now are Chinese. So because we are tilting to India. We used to be a close ally of Pakistan, but we're tilting to India. As a result, Pakistan is very suspicious of us because they're very, very concerned about the Indian superiority in conventional weapons. And that's why they're accelerating the production of nuclear weapons, as undesirable as that is, and while they're keen to keep Afghanistan as kind of a back retreat area and to prevent India from coming at them from that side. Why are we tilting to India? The book asks that question, and it shows that that happened during the Bush administration because we decided we need India to balance China. And suddenly you see a connection between our attitude to China. Are we consider them a potential partner, a G2, a world order in which they and we would work together to promote peace and order and harmony? Or do we see them as the next enemy, which requires us to align people against them, and above all India? How we decide we treat with China affects our attitude to India. How we treat India very much affects our attitude to Pakistan. And Pakistan has a huge leverage over Afghanistan. So maybe the most interesting part of the book, it connects the various hotspots and shows surprisingly there is a kind of geopolitical connection which requires some very clear policy rather than dealing with each of the hotspots one at a time.